Hello, hello, and happy Friday. I am excited for today's conversation. Excited and a little nervous. I don't know, we'll see what comes up. But I want you to meet Tara Rose and Jenna Lee. With more than 4 decades of combined entrepreneurial experience, they founded Gutsy Money to bridge the financial literacy gap for women entrepreneurs and business owners. Gutsy Money uniquely blends professional services with radical support. Tara Rose and Jenna Lee's approach goes beyond traditional bookkeeping, creating a space for women to build confidence, tackle money beliefs and habits that may be holding them back, and become masters of their financials. Woohoo! Yeah,
Mm.
this is a conversation that I'm both excited to have and like, oh shit, are we really doing this? So let's dig in. So, share with me the story because I know a little bit about how you guys met and everything, but tell the audience the story of how we got from you two meeting each other to Gutsy Money.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So, Tara Rose and I actually met in college at Arizona State University. We met on roommates.com. So, we are a success story from online, not dating, but, roommate discovery. And
Sure. It could be the
um,
same thing as dating, right?
it's very effective. She was among a variety of princes who just suggested that I send them my routing and account number, and they would forward me the years rent.
Of course,
Yeah,
of
I'm glad I
course.
took a chance on her. So we've been friends over the years. She's founded numerous nonprofits. I've founded several businesses, and we've woven in and out of one another's lives professionally, helping one another with marketing, with business plans, things like that, and then maintained a friendship. But we've never gotten to actually collaborate on a business together until 2024, when Tara Rose came to me and she said, I'm seeing a massive opportunity. A lot of bookkeepers are retiring, and there's space for people. There's room for people to enter this space. And furthermore, how sick and tired are you of seeing people schlepping systems on Instagram that are going to make women entrepreneurs into 30,000 a month in two
Right.
weeks if you just follow my system? And especially for both of us, because we're also in the coaching space. And she's like, I want to provide something foundational and fundamental to business to them that actually moves the needle. And I'm like, girl, me too. So she's a nonprofit bookkeeper. I'm a self-taught bookkeeper. And we have both had a myriad of experiences with financial professionals, some positive and some not so positive. And it just really, we have a passion for making sure that nobody falls into the pits that we fell into with the wrong professionals, or not necessarily bad professionals, but not knowing how to interact with them and how to ask them for the information that we needed to actually use their bookkeeping and CPA services. So we're really passionate about providing a fundamental service, and along the way teaching women what they need to know about business finance so they can make informed decisions in their business.
I love that. I love that. Um, so you've both been in this entrepreneurial space for years. What patterns were you seeing in women business owners that really inspired you to create this, to create Gutsy Money?
Mm.
That's a great question. And so a lot of passion would be the first one, a lot of passion to make a difference. And on that note, making a difference, creating impact, building something for their family that wasn't reliant on them being in a 9 to 5. So it seems to always come from a pretty good natured place of I want to make change and I want to provide for my family and I want to do so in a way that feels in alignment with who I am. And along with those patterns, though, because the entrepreneurial space pretty much exploded online in about 2010, it also came with a lot of big promises, like Jenna Lee mentioned, of, hey, here's the quick fix, right? We kind of got into this quick fix, do it fast, do it now. And then the burnout was hitting. And one of the key things we saw, especially around the finances, was that people were just not able to pay attention to it, because it's like, okay, so now I'm exhausted and I'm stressed and I'm trying to sell and market and wear all the hats. And I know my numbers aren't where I want them to be or could be. So now I'm ignoring them. So then that pattern of like, I'm ignoring my money, even though I know I shouldn't be, but I don't know what to do with it, and I'll do it later. And then that perpetuates that fallout a bit, because at the end of the day, right, if we're not making money in business, we don't have a business, we have a hobby. And that's a really hard thing to admit sometimes to ourselves. It's like, oh my gosh. And if I just do the next right thing, or if I just get to this place, it'll all get better. And the reality is that when we come back in and we start to look at that patterning, the key thing is to look at our money, be with our money, become aware and intentional with our money. And that's what really starts to shift things.
And money is such an emotional thing, right? Like
Yeah.
it's this push pull because we need it to survive. And
Mhm.
yet we all have these deep money stories,
Mhm.
right? I'll even share, I'm an EFT practitioner, and a few years ago I was working with my EFT coach, and I was like, I have this pattern of I get money in and then I spend it, and then I feel guilty that I spent it, and then I get more money in, and I'm in this cycle. And we were
Mhm.
tapping on it, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, and she was like, what just happened? I was like, I need a minute to process this.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what came up for me was my mom died when she was 48.
Mhm.
So back in 19, a long time ago. And I actually have guilt that I get to spend money,
Mhm.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Like that isn't conscious thought, but if that is my subconscious driving my patterns and behaviors, right, I'm going to be in that constant loop, right?
Yes.
So, how do you work with your clients? Because it isn't just about, oh, I need another client, or I need more clients, or I need less expenses, because money is so much deeper than that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great question also. And we find that the starting place is getting clarity about finances, because that's when it's actually easier to recognize those patterns. So some people don't even know that they have that money flows in and I immediately have to spend it, right? I had a client who, it was the next coaching, oh, this coaching and this class and this coaching, and that felt valid because she's like, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm building my skills in my business, and yet it was like there wasn't a financial analysis of, are these is there an ROI on this? Is there a return on this investment? And she came to realize when she could see the way money instantly flowed out of the business, oh, something's going on here. So we think that is a really good foundation, is just actually getting clarity on how money is flowing in and out of the business. And then if there's an issue with it, like, oh, I make all this money but I don't have any money at the end of the day, that's sort of the little ding, ding, ding for them to look more closely at that. And we do have a money mindset exercise that Tara Rose created, and it's a perpetual exercise, right? Because when you uncover the one thing about your money, there tends to be some other habits that have developed around it as well. We're never done, right?
Right, right.
And so that journaling exercise that she created helps people just constantly attune to what are my beliefs around money, and are they serving me? Because some of them likely are, and some of them likely are not.
Right.
And
What
it's
are, oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
no, no, I'm just curious. What are some of the common limiting beliefs that you see women carrying around
Ooh, I
about
bet we
money?
both have some of these. So, money is impolite. It's impolite and unladylike to talk about money. Not
Mm,
only should you not talk about money as a topic, you should most certainly not talk about wanting to make money, how much money you earn. You should not celebrate your income. It should all of that should occur behind the scenes.
yeah.
What else, Tara Rose?
Um, okay. Ooh, this one's really good. So, the one around,
For
I
those
can't.
of you that are just listening, the excitement on Tara Rose's face right now is amazing. So I can't wait to hear this.
Oh, I'm on a crusade about this one, Francine, which is I can't charge what I'm worth, or
Mm,
how do I charge what I'm worth? And then people get really spun up about defining their worth. And here's what I would immediately say to that, which is, like, you are priceless as a person and you cannot define your worth. We have to define the worth of the results. And when we start to take it off of us and we like, hey, what is the worth of the result that I'm getting my client? How are they transforming? What does this do for them? All of a sudden it's like, oh, Right. Awesome. And now we have all this space and clarity. And then another one is good women don't care about money. So kind of along the lines of what Jenna Lee said, it's impolite. It's like, okay, I just don't care about money. I don't need to care about money. That's a big one. And or I need to save everything. Like I need to just penny pinch, especially if they haven't been the primary person making the money in the household, or even if they have been the primary person, it's like I have to be really, really tight with my money, and that can kind of constrict the flow. So there's a
Yeah.
lot.
You know, I'm in addition to coaching, I'm also an energy healer, and there's so many energy healers, coaches that I come across that they, I don't know if guilt is the right word, but they don't feel like they, energy healers, this is a gift that I have and I shouldn't charge,
Mhm.
right? So I got over that a long time ago.
That's
Right?
great. That's
I don't know
good.
that I ever had that mindset, but I will
Mhm.
say it's hard being up against those coaches and healers that don't feel, because you can find somebody a lot cheaper than me. You absolutely
Mhm.
100% can. And that doesn't say anything less about how I show up. And I will tell you, I've been full time in my business since 2020. And in the beginning, I had a coach that I was working with. And I went through this period of I wasn't signing new clients. So I went through this whole exercise of lowering my prices. I'll just lower
Mhm.
my prices and then people will hire me, right? Maybe I'm
Mhm.
charging too much. And I was on a call with my coach, and she said, "Well, are you worth what you're charging?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And as
Mhm.
soon as I said that to myself, I went back and changed the prices to what they originally were, and clients showed up. But it was like, it was
Mhm.
almost like I had to say it to the universe and be like, "I'm fucking worthy of this." And
Yeah.
people are like, "Yes, you are. Here, let me pay you." Right.
Mhm.
But like that fear of, I'm charging too much, I shouldn't do this. And I had a woman recently said to me, "You don't charge enough." And then I thought, "Oh, I should go and charge more." And I was like, "Well, wait a minute, because someone else thinks I should?"
Right.
Right? Like I
Mhm.
am actually comfortable in where my pricing is right now.
Yeah.
Right?
If she wants, she's welcome to tip you if she thinks you
Right,
need more
right?
money.
Yeah, absolutely. You can give me more, but there's how much of that is around our own self-worth, right?
Mhm.
Because I will say, as soon as I said, yes, I am worth charging that, things shifted for me in my business.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's that
Mhm.
alignment. And I think
Yeah.
determining where the misalignment occurs is really important. I know when I started as a marketer, I was offering content writing services, and my belief was this is easy for me. So I assumed it wasn't valuable to other people. I'm like, this is just easy. This is literally what I do. It's fun.
Right.
It's not challenging. And then I had client after client after client say, I could never do this. I stared at the cursor. I can't even write an email, let alone a whole website. And I started to realize, oh, I'm devaluing my services because it comes to me with ease. It's a natural
Mhm.
skill. But like
Right.
Tara Rose said, I had to look at the outcome for my clients, and that website would never have gone live if it wasn't for my help. So it's really identifying that where that misalignment is. And as we've pointed out, we've listed several examples, all different, but all the same net result of struggling to charge what we're worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's a step here, Francine, that you just did so naturally that maybe other people listening would like to know, which I think is when you said I am worth it, you were really starting to retrain your subconscious mind, which lives in the body of worthiness, right?
Yeah.
This like worthiness. And then you realized, okay, when somebody pays me, they're exchanging that energy, right? And so I'm opening to that, and I'm allowing the energy exchange. And that is one thing. I've practiced energy medicine for the better part of 18 years, and really seeing how when people don't invest, then they don't always get out what they're looking to get out of it, right? In any
Right.
service. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about investing, right? So the work that I do is I ask women to invest in themselves.
right.
And
Yeah, I love it.
so often they have a hard time doing that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I actually had a conversation with a potential client last year where she was a new coach and she
Mhm.
had never worked with a coach before.
Mhm.
And she just kept telling me throughout the whole conversation how she had no money. She had no money. And, mine is not to judge, but in the back of my mind, I was like, if you're not going to invest in you, why would someone else?
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
And it isn't about, I think it was you, Jenny, who mentioned earlier, like people are just throwing money at the next program, right? Which is true because then there's some imposter syndrome. Well, if I have this next certification or degree or whatever, then I'm worthy, right? So
Yes.
understanding your drive for that, but there is an investment.
Mhm.
Right. I have invested in a lot of programs that weren't necessarily in my budget, but I also know I couldn't afford not to because they helped me get to that next level. And there are some that I'm like, hold on, what's your motivation for wanting this? Right? Like, is
Mm.
this really where your money should be right now? Or is this because you think you're not good enough, so you need this certification or whatever that is? So it's really understanding your why. But also, if I think as business owners, if we're not willing to invest in ourselves, how can we then expect our clients to invest in us?
Right. And I think there's many things we have to weigh when determining like what the next, if the investment is worth it. And
Absolutely.
a lot of our clients come to us and they're like, well, I just sort of like intuitively, chose, or, some of the undefined imposter syndrome.
Right.
And so we never say to our clients, oh, we're going to get your finances, you're going to have total financial clarity, and you're only going to
Sure.
make decisions based on your numbers. It's just one more data point, but it's a really, really important data point, along with that intuition and that willingness to invest and that willingness to take a risk. And unfortunately, uncountable numbers of entrepreneurs are making really important and expensive business decisions without that data point. And that's why that's the number one, cash flow issues is the number one reason small businesses
Right.
fail.
I know we talked a little bit about money as energy, right? So for those that might be new to that concept, what does that really mean? And how does that apply to our day to day?
Oh my gosh, this is such a great question, and it's such a big one. We could go on forever about this,
Right.
Francine.
I know.
But I love in the background of your screen, you have the chakra chart, and
Yep.
on the very bottom there, we have the red, the root chakra, which lives in our body, at our own root. And so when we think about like the bamboo plant. We know that the bamboo roots before it shoots. And when it roots, it creates a structure underground that connects. And I like to think of money in this way, where if we're willing to look at the root, if we're willing to say, hey, let's let our money root, let's understand our money, let's use it as a data point, let's clarify it. Then when we shoot, we're set, right? That when that bamboo shoots up, when the energy starts to move from the root up through that creative chakra, through our power center in our heart, all of a sudden we have this stable foundation to stand on. Versus a lot of times when people get into business, right, they're coming from that heart space, that heart chakra, the green one right in the center there, which is amazing. We want to give from that space. And if we ignore the bottom three or the bottom one, what can we stand on that's really, really solid?
Mm.
I
And
love that. Root
yeah.
before it shoots.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Be a
love that.
bamboo.
Right. Be a bamboo. I love that. How do you think ignoring our money or avoiding looking at it really does it block our abundance or our ability to create more abundance? And what's something we can do to start shifting that? Because sometimes looking at it, when we're not in great financial places, and I'll speak for myself because I've been there at times, right? Like, I'm like, oh, if I just ignore it, it'll go away, which is not true, right?
Or it is true, right? Or it will
Right,
go.
right,
The
right.
money
Yeah,
will go
yeah, yep,
away.
yes, yes, absolutely, right?
Come
But
back.
how does, ignoring it or not looking at it or looking at it too much, right? Like having this over focus on it, how does that affect the way that we show up and, attract or avoid abundance?
Well, Brene Brown says that shame festers in the dark. And so when we're in the dark about our finances, first of all, we might be ashamed and not have a reason to be. Things might actually be great, but we don't know. Or we know we're avoiding it, we're keeping it in the dark, we're not facing it, and any potential shame, which is so easy to trigger shame in relation to money. can really fester. And so what we work with our clients on is action is the antidote to anxiety. Now we know anxiety is caused by like not knowing, uncertainty, fear, and it's really easy to be afraid and uncertain and unknowing if you haven't looked at your finances. And so we suggest just take action, some kind of action. And if that action is, I actually can't look at this, but someone else can look at it, great. Or if that action is to look at it in community, I've healed so many money wounds in community saying to a fellow entrepreneur, like, I'm not doing well. And I just want to share it with someone so somebody knows that, my finances aren't where I want them to be. So it doesn't fester and stay in the dark inside of me.
I love that.
And so that's what we professionally are, that partner. But then if someone can't afford our services or doesn't want our services, then we just suggest find someone you can trust who's a safe place to talk to, like maybe even sit with you while you go through your books. And then if something
Right.
comes up, you have someone right there that you can share it with. And it's amazing how much the feelings start to dissipate and calm when there's that community and relational support.
I love that. I learned a lesson. It's probably 7 or 8 years years ago now. I had been laid off from a corporate job at the time, and I was in Starbucks with a friend, and she said, "I've got it," and I was like, "No, no, I've got it," and she was like, "I got it." And after the third time, she looked at me and she said, "Just say thank you." And that hit me like a ton of bricks because I am the first one that will buy everyone around. I will buy you lunch. I will buy you coffee, like without even think whether I had the money or not. I'm like, don't worry, I got it. But
Mhm.
what I realized in that moment was by me constantly saying no, 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 like what else was I resisting? Right. And it wasn't that it was, there was some shame, like I can afford, I mean, it was Starbucks. It was probably an $8 coffee, but I can afford coffee. Like, who, don't worry about it. But I realized, like, when I wasn't open to receiving a cup of coffee, what else was I shutting myself off from receiving?
Right.
And
And you were having to cut off like the honesty of where you were at. Like maybe finances weren't great because you'd been laid off. And
sure,
so
yeah,
when we like cut ourselves off from our truth, we miss out on connecting with other
right.
people. Like there was when you finally said yes, and especially if you had shared, hey, I was just uncomfortable with that, but actually at this time in my life, I really appreciate you offering. Think about the deep connection that's now available to the two of you.
Right. And I think it's also recognizing because even today, people will still offer to buy dinner or whatever. And I just say thank you now. It still can feel uncomfortable because receiving is an area that I've had to work on because I'm the giver, right? But I'm like, well, if I can't accept somebody's dinner or cup of coffee or what, fill in the blank, what else am I stopping myself from receiving? And I teach this to women a lot. And so often when I say, who here can receive easily, no one raises their hand, right?
Yeah.
So, how much of that affects what you see women, how they do in their business, how they do with money if they really do struggle with receiving?
Mhm.
Is it a question or is it rhetorical or is it the
Well,
best
you know what?
statement ever? I'm
I
like,
guess
that
it's a little bit
was
of both.
yes, yes, Fran.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think in the post 80s, like in the 80s, really was the height of like women taking control of their money, pursuing careers, being independent, not needing a man. It kind of came after the bra burning of the earlier decades. And the 80s are really that height of hyper independence for women. And we haven't really come back down from there. I think we're starting to make strides, but this sense that like I have to do it all myself, or I'm not a real businesswoman, or people are going to question, or I'm going to question whether I should be here. And, a lot of I don't want to bother other people. I don't want to burden other people. There is a worthiness component. I mean, there's so much programming, cultural programming to
Right.
unwind to get underneath that. Why don't I ask for help? Why am I uncomfortable accepting help? Why do I think I shouldn't need help and then shame myself for needing it while also still not pursuing help? I mean, it's really there's a lot working against us.
Yeah. Because it's not just about the dollars and cents. It's so much underneath it. I work with women who are addicted to busyness, and often that is also attached to worthiness, right? If I'm just doing, 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 then I'm worthy. There's something good there, right? But it's when we get to the root of it that we actually get to clear and heal the space so that you can do less and actually make more and be more productive in your business.
And I think one of the key things that we can also implement is receiving from ourselves, not in the sense of I have to do more to be more, but in the sense
Right.
of, hey, how am I nourishing myself? What kind of music am I putting on in the evenings? Am I putting on, music for my kids or my husband or nothing at all? Am I feeding myself? Am I sitting down to have a meal? Am I carving out 10 minutes? I love what Tony Robbins always said. He said, if you don't have 10 minutes, you don't have a life. And what he's really, and the guy's incredibly successful. So coming
Right.
from him, we can warrant the comment and say, yeah, if we're carving out that time and then resetting that nervous system, like I'm sure you do a lot with your clients, get back into the parasympathetic state, everything works better, right? We attract much easier. Those roots grow deeper, faster. We can shoot faster because we're coming back and receiving first from ourselves. And I feel so often it gets overlooked, especially for women and givers.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. What are some maybe small but powerful actions that someone can take when they are feeling maybe a little frozen or stuck around money?
I
Mhm.
love, oh, did you go ahead? Oh, I love to just invite people to start with the breath. And it sounds so simple, but when we start with our breath and we come back into our bodies, then we can say to ourselves, okay, am I okay in this moment? Because sometimes it can feel so anxiety ridden and so intense that everything feels like it's collapsing around us. And so coming back and just, okay, I can feel my breath in and out, as simple as that. We can do box breathing where we count in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. These are very, very simple and well known. But when we come back to the breath, then we can ask ourselves where we're at, check in, and then say, okay, what is the next step? I am such a big fan, as Jenny knows, of getting back into the parasympathetic state, that rest and relax nervous system, as close as we can get. It's not a perfect
Sure. That's
thing
why I love
to
tapping,
move
right?
from
You can
there.
just do a few rounds
Yeah.
of tapping without even saying anything, and it makes
Yeah.
such a difference. Yeah.
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 And then
Uh,
once things are in that calmer state, it's the awareness. So
that's
before,
right.
sometimes people want to dive right into action, and that can actually be a mechanism for like additional avoidance, sort of like you're talking about with people who are busy for the sake of busyness. And so
Right.
that
Mhm.
awareness step of just why don't you just spend the next week paying attention to your thoughts around money when you pay a bill, what like at a restaurant, what do you think? When you pay one of your utility bills, what's going through your mind? When your child asks you for money, when you and your spouse have a conversation about finances, like any opportunity that you have to start becoming aware of the script that's running when anything related to money is happening is going to be so powerful for helping uncover those previously unconscious beliefs.
How, and I don't even know if this is in your wheelhouse, but this popped in, so I'm going to ask the question, right? Like generational trauma around money. How do you do, is this something that you help your clients with, right? Like I know years ago, I uncovered a belief of if I'm not overweight or in debt, I'm not part of my family, because that's like a family of origin. My grandmother was on welfare, and then, like, so there was that. So how do you help heal, or can you help, or do you have suggestions of how to help that generational trauma around money?
Yeah, and so many beliefs are inherited.
Right. They're
Right?
not even
Either
ours sometimes. And you're like, you just
right.
become like when I had that aha many years ago, I was like, oh, well, that explains these things, right? Like,
Absolutely. And I think in all my years of doing the work, I've always asked the question of like, where is the balance between looking backwards, identifying, acknowledging, and then pivoting and making sure that we're, rewriting our own neural pathways and creating our own biology around it to move forward. Because we can, and I'm sure you've seen this, where we can get stuck in the looking back, right? So I think having that awareness and asking the simple questions, what have I seen in my own family line? What do I remember hearing as a kid? Call, if you have access still, to your parents, call them up. Like, what was money like for you when you were young? And asking about it and understanding it and just seeing what comes up and comes through. And then from there, taking it and seeing how it's been applied to your own life, maybe doing some somatic work if you can feel it in your body. identifying it, and then looking to, okay, how do I want it to be now? So how do I want to create generational wealth moving forward? So we're moving from trauma into the neutrality and looking forward into how do I want to create that generational wealth. So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, what would you say to someone who maybe still feels shame or fear around money, especially maybe when it comes to asking, charging her what she's worth, or even figuring out what she's worth, right? Like that's because, especially like in my industry, coaching, right? There's no average, right? Like you can charge $100 an hour, you can charge $10,000 an hour, right?
Mhm.
So how would you help women? I'm going to say women because I feel like, do you work mostly with women?
Mhm.
Yes.
As do I. So how would you help them when they still have that fear and shame around money?
Go ahead.
Okay. I was like, I'm not sure if Tennelly has it.
Okay.
Yeah. So in this particular field, I think there um an integrity of self, right? Knowing yourself and really knowing how present you can be and how in depth you can go is important. And so, like you were talking about getting more certifications or bringing those things on as an avoidance tool and having that balance of, okay, where am I? And am I just starting out? Because in my early 20s, had just become a coach and I had a lot of knowledge because I grew up in the nutrition space and the healing space, but I was a new coach and I had a mentor that I had hired, and I wanted to charge like $400 a month for these little packages. That I would see people like once a week for 30 minutes, and $400 a month, someone's going to pay me that seemed banana pants. Like that sounded like so much money. I was so excited.
Right.
And then I get on this call with her and she says, "Oh no, 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 your energy is so big and all these things and you're a leader." And I'm 23 years old. And she's like, "You need to be charging $1,900 a month." And I was like, whoa, like in that moment in time, it sounded like she was telling me to charge $2 million a year for my
Right.
coaching services. And so I got so wrapped up in like, oh, this is what I have to do and how to do it. And then what happened is I charged one person that. It was a super difficult client actually, and it became really hard. And so looking at it from that perspective of, okay, where is the balance? And don't feel if we don't feel like we're ready, then do we need anything else? Like, is there something I need to know? Like, do I need to go through the structure again? Like really practical stuff. Do I need to go through like my onboarding or how I connect with people? And then just do it. Just do it.
Mm,
Just find the price that feels a little edgy but supportive for yourself, and then just charge it and it will go away, right? I remember I changed my prices from 95 to 150, and I did it in one day after I'd been practicing for about 7 years, and not a single person blinked. It was like, oh,
right.
okay.
Right.
I think that's so amazing. And I think that I remember when I was a new mother and I had these ideas about like how I needed to show up as a mother based on really like bullshit, people on Instagram, my own mother who'd been a stay-at-home mom and I was a working mom, not relevant example. And it wasn't until I got in rooms with other mothers who were actually willing to tell the truth about the experience of motherhood that I
Mm,
started to realize, oh, I'm comparing myself to a made up standard. And so, likewise, for small businesses, I'm in a mastermind, it's all women entrepreneurs, and we say the real stuff. And if I'm
right.
in a conversation with someone and they're telling me being a mom is the best ever, there's nothing wrong with it, I love it, I'm not going to really
You're like, what
connect
kind
with
of
that.
meds are you on? Like, what
Yes.
are you taking?
Like, I'm so sorry that you're in a place with your motherhood where you can't tell the truth, but that's not
Right.
a healthy input for me. And
Right.
likewise, a healthy input for me is not these people on Instagram who are telling me it's just a simple system and you should be making 30,000 a month and working 10 hours a week. That's unrealistic and it's not a healthy input. So really guarding our inputs and then purposefully putting ourselves in interactions and in rooms with people who are telling the truth, not the I've arrived truth, but the messy
Mm,
middle and the
yeah.
hard start truth. I think that is incredibly powerful. It's the shared experience, right? The shared real
Yeah.
experience.
Right. Well, and I think there's a trust factor when people are real, right? Like one of the
Mhm.
things, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, is I might be an oversharer sometimes with my clients because it's important that they know that they're not alone,
Yes.
right? Like I've been there. As a matter of fact, I'm going through what you're going through now at a different, right? Like I don't always share the details, but I let them know like the work that they're doing is not easy. And
Mhm.
I've been there and I'm still there, right? I'm human. As long as you're human, you're still doing work. Like I had something come up in a coaching call last week. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Are we really here again? Like, are we really doing this again? Right? But if I'm just like, no, my life is great. Everything is wonderful. Are you gonna trust me to like be able to support you when everything doesn't feel great and wonderful? I
No.
think that's
Beware of
important.
the people who tie a perfect bow on every story.
Right. I love that. Yes. Beware of the people who tie a perfect bow on every story. I love that. So I'm curious, what have been some of your own biggest breakthroughs when it comes to your money stories? Like I know for me, when I had that awareness, I would say it's the two, right? Like one that, oh, if I don't have debt, I'm not part of the family. And also the thing around my mom, right? Like there's guilt there. So I'm curious, like, what have been some of your breakthroughs around your own money stories?
Sure. So I come from primarily working class background, and I definitely had the story of it's not worth it if you didn't work hard for it.
Yeah.
And I would work, I in college, I was in college full time. I had a full-time job. I oftentimes had a part-time job in addition to that. And I was really proud, and I'm still proud that I know I have the ability to work really, really hard if I need to. And then I think actually Tara Rose back in college turned me on to Timothy Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week, which
Yeah.
is not exactly a realistic representation, but I was so far on one end of the spectrum. I needed somebody to show me that there even was a spectrum. I
Right.
didn't know there was an option other than working hard. And so I'm constantly asking myself, am I working smart? And I needed to really cultivate the ability to like work smart, work efficient, see ways that money could come to me without it being tied to immense effort on my part. And that was a huge one.
Yeah.
And then, all wealthy people got there by doing something nefarious or are shitty. And
Right.
my out of college, I worked for a very high end magazine that catered to the wealthiest people in the Phoenix Valley, and I had a very snotty sort of opinion about them. And I will never forget a really hard conversation that my mentor had with me, and she said, "You are going to miss out on incredible people because you're judging them for being wealthy and you don't even know how they got that money. And it really doesn't, it's not the only thing that defines them. And you're going to miss out not only on them personally, but on business opportunities and success in your life. And you need to take a look at that belief." And she was that blunt. And it was
Wow.
really hard to hear at 21 years old. And it changed my life forever. And I think about her several times a year. And I remember that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Tara Rose, what about you?
I think one of the biggest ones has been waiting for permission. So,
Mm.
um, I loved to study from a really young age and gathered a lot of, just knowledge and things like that. And sometimes I would share it and feel like I'd be called a know-it-all or different things like that. And so then for me, it was like, okay, I got to stop like sharing and talking, and I need to like wait for some kind of permission until it's like maybe people are ready or I'm old enough, because I started businesses and nonprofits so young. It was like, "Ah, I'm not old enough yet. I'm not worthy of success or money. So I need to wait until I'm old enough, till someone gives me permission, until it's okay to be big and bold and allow it." And so really coming into a space of like, I have to give myself the permission all the time. Still every day, it's like, okay, remember, this is you and you. You can do it, right? Like there's
Yeah.
nobody, and not waiting for permission in the sense of like someone's going to come save me. It's more like someone's going to tell me it's okay to be all of me, and that what I am is okay. Like I'm not too much or too big or whatever. And so coming around to that.
I love that.
Mhm.
What does being gutsy with money actually mean to you guys? And where did the name of the company come from?
Was you, Tara Rose. I think that was primarily you. I think you brought up gutsy, and then we were sort of like, where do we want to go with it? And and we landed on gutsy money. But this turbos would probably have the best input on this one.
So I've been in the world of health for a really long time, and gut, like, go with your gut, right?
Yeah.
And go with your gut, and when your gut is healthy, you can make big bold decisions. And being gutsy, we feel, is one, being willing to just look at your money. It is so gutsy in this world today to look at your money, create a solid foundation with it, fall in love with it. Like, what does it feel like to just be like, I love money? Oh my gosh, right? Because we're all taught, like, oh, money's irritable evil, or we can't love money. No, we love money. Generally, and I love money. And we love helping women create a lot of money so that they can make gutsy impact. And that's the other side of it. It's like, be gutsy, look at your money. Be gutsy, create a foundation with it. And then be wildly gutsy and make that impact you want to make in your family, in the world, around you. Because big dreams come true when women have wealth.
Love that. What is something that you wish every woman entrepreneur, I'm going to say entrepreneur, but it could be just every woman or every person, every human knew about her power to create wealth?
Oh, good. I like everything. I'd like 10, like, well, can I say 10 things? I think for me,
What's the first one that popped into your head? I'm
that
pushing aside to
I
get to
know,
the
I'm
first
like,
one.
they're just like crowding my brain. Um, that her wealth will be a tool,
Hmm.
will be a tool that she can use. So if there's just like all of this emotional stuff getting in the way, I find that when women remember that, like, if I'm here to make an impact and I don't want to charge a lot of money, okay, actually, how much impact could you make if you had a lot of money? You could start a foundation instead of like giving
Right.
your services away for free. You can actually maximize your input impact. So I think when money becomes this like dirty, anxiety ridden topic, just remembering that money is a tool, and it's a tool that you can wield to help create the world that you want, for yourself, for your family, and then for the greater population. And that can really help cut through some of the limiting beliefs.
We could have this conversation go on for hours. There's so much in here. Like, I don't know why this popped in while you were talking, but one of my pet peeves is when I see in Facebook groups, I'm looking for a fill in the blank that won't break the bank, that isn't too expensive. And like, that is all so subjective.
Right.
Right. Like, I'm also a hairdresser. So I see a lot of people looking for hairdressers, and they're like, that doesn't break the bank. Well, what they don't realize is hairdressers aren't like, there's a lot of money they invest in their careers, right? I only do it part-time. So I'm not of that, but in my own coaching business, I have invested thousands of dollars in my career, my development, so that I can then support people. That's why I feel confident in my pricing, right? So what I think is a lot of money or not a lot of money may be different for you because of our value systems,
Totally.
right? And to qualify that of not breaking the bank, well, $10 could break the bank for someone else where 150 could break it, right? Like,
Well, and it's really important. I think that's such a short-sighted way to weigh the value of something. What's the
yes,
ROI? Like
right.
we had clients who we brought them on, they were kind of hesitant to spend the money, and then we found out they had been double booking their income the previous year. And so they actually paid more taxes to the federal and state government than they should have because they paid on income they hadn't actually earned. So we immediately enabled them
Save
to put
them
money
money.
back in their pocket. Right. But if they
Right.
so you've got to look at it from that ROI perspective too. Yeah, I'm going to output money, but what are going to be the results of that?
Right. We had our deck stained a couple of summers ago, and I got, a few different quotes. One was really high, one was mid, and one was really low. I mean, like, significant. Like, the lowest was 800 and the highest was 5,000.
Yeah.
Right? Like, am I, like, what's so I didn't go with the 800 just because it was the lowest, right? The one in the middle was reference referral and stuff, but it's like, okay, their value was, I'm only worth $800. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean that that's the right one for me. So it's there's so much more to money than dollars and cents.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay. We could do this for all day, but couple of things. Let people know where they can find you.
Sure. So you can find us at gutsymoney.co. We're also on Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn, and we're pretty active on those platforms. We put out a lot of educational content. We like to do shout outs frequently for women business owners we come across. So come get in our world, and you can just DM us and say, hey, will you shout me out in an Instagram story? And we will. We are massive supporters of women.
Love that.
Yeah, big, big
Um,
time.
and we'll put all that information in the show notes. So I love to ask and can't even speak right now because I'm like, there's so much more I want to talk about. But I always love to end with this question. What is something you live by that you want to share with our listeners? And I'm going to let you both answer. So,
Mm.
Um, as soon as you have clarity on something, do it now, do it now, do it now. And it can be really easy to overanalyze. And action really, like action from flow and alignment is the balm for everything. So
love that.
do it now. And if it still feels complicated, just simplify. We can always simplify, and in simplicity will be more flow as well.
And you can always change direction, right? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, I love that. Jenna Lee, what about you?
Yeah. My greatest wealth is relationships. And I
Mm,
just keep coming back to that. Like I could lose my house, empty my bank accounts tomorrow, and I would still be wealthy beyond belief. And you never know how those relationships, a friendship from roommates.com 20 years ago, are also
right.
potentially going to lead to like actual financial wealth. But yeah, I
I
feel that
love
relationships are the lifeblood.
Same. One of my top values is connection. So that's why I love this podcast because I get to meet so many amazing people. So I pull cards. I pull them before we meet. This week I am pulling from the Wealthy Women Oracle deck. So I
Woo.
have three cards in front of me. I have left, right, and center. And I'm going to invite both Jenna Lee and Tara Rose to just take a nice deep breath, and the listeners as well. If you're in a place where you can close your eyes, do that. And then just ask, what do I need to know right now? And then choose left, right, or center. Tara Rose, I'm going to ask you first.
Okie doke. Right.
Right. Okay. The catalyst. And I'm going to read a little bit from, I don't usually read in the book, but we're going to here because there's a little blurb. Let's just, of course, this is not one of those easy books that everything's in
They,
alphabetical.
you
There's,
make them so complicated.
they really do. This one is, let's see. All right, the catalyst. So I love, so here's the thing. There's never any mistakes with these cards, right? So abundant activation, gifts awoken. And then it says, whatever the change is, embrace it. And it feels like that is very similar to the what you live by. So that is just beautiful.
Oh my
And
God.
Jenna Lee, left, right, or center?
Center, please.
Center. Yours is radiant abundance. So let's see what that one is. Page. All right. So that one is become what you desire. And then become the essence of abundance. Allow it to flood into every cell of your being and radiate out from you. In doing so, you make it easier for abundance to find its way to you faster than ever before. And if
Wow.
you chose left, that is the monarch.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And let's see what the monarch is. Page 25. All right. Innate value and deservingness, regal confidence. It is your destiny to wholeheartedly embrace the greatness within you.
Ooh.
Mic drop.
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
How fun.
On that note, I want to thank the two of you so much for being here today. This was such a fun conversation. All of their Gutsy Money's information will be in our show notes along with mine. And for now, thank you and have a fabulous Friday.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.